man will marry you, big lady. Look at her muscles. Who will want a woman bigger than them? You are cursed. She's cursed. She's cursed. Jesus, Jesus. Look at her muscles. Can you see that? Who's this girl? My name is Aisha, and the men in this village fear me. Because of my strength and size, they all feel intimidated.
Did she just lift that?
But it's not my fault I was created this way. This is my story, and I'm pleased to tell it to the world. If you are like me, you are loved and unique. Stay exactly who you are.
Nobody in Cayama fully understood where Aisha's strength came from. Her mother, Helia, was a small, soft-spoken woman who could not lift a heavy pot without help. Her father, Ibrahim, was an ordinary farmer, strong in the way all farmers are strong, but ordinary. Aisha was not ordinary. She had discovered her strength the way most people discover the most important thing about themselves, by accident. She was 12 years old when she leaned against a fence post in her father's compound and accidentally pulled it clean out of the ground. The post was buried 2 feet deep and cemented in place. She had not noticed until her father pointed at it. She looked at the post in her hand, then at the hole in the ground, then at her father. She said sorry. Her father sat down on a stone and did not speak for 20 minutes. By 19, she had stopped apologizing for her strength. She had simply learned to point it in useful directions. The things Aisha could do, the least that Cayama whispered about in the market and shouted about in the square, were not performances. They were simply what happened when Aisha encountered a problem her body could solve. She saw a problem, her hands moved, the problem was solved. That was all. That was everything. Old Baba Gaba, 73 years old, was carrying a sack of yams from the market to his compound. The sack was heavier than the old man should have carried. His back bent under it, his steps slow and painful. Aisha appeared beside him, took the sack from his back with one hand, placed it on her own shoulder, walked him home and put the sack in his kitchen. She did not wait for a thank you. She turned and walked back to the market. Baba Gaba stood in his kitchen, staring at the sack, then at the door, then at his own back that had stopped hurting for the first time in 3 weeks. He wept a little. He would never tell anyone this. Mama Chidima's cart of firewood had broken a wheel on the village road. The wood scattered across the paths. 3 men had walked past it, each one deciding it was not their problem. Aisha gathered the firewood, all of it, in 2 armfuls, lifted the cart with her free hand, balanced it on her hip, and carried it to Mama Chidima's compound. The 3 men who had walked past watched from a distance. Their faces were a mixture of shame and the specific defensiveness of people who had just been shown up by someone they looked down on. Every rainy season, a tree would fall across the village paths. Usually, it took 6 men an entire morning to clear it. Aisha would pass it on her way somewhere, stopped, looked at it, pick it up, move it. The first time she cleared a full-grown iloko tree alone, a crowd gathered before she had finished. She dragged it off the path as though she were pushing a chair out of the way. 5 seconds of silence. Then, our wife, Aisha, Aisha. She walked through it all with that smile. The bulls are the story Cayama will tell until their great-grandchildren are old. Musa, the trader, was trying to move 2 of his largest bulls to the market pen. The bulls were enormous, agitated, and pulled in different directions. 3 men on the ropes were being dragged across the red earth, leaving trails in the dust. Aisha was passing. She stopped and watched for a moment. Then she walked to the nearest bull, grabbed it around its middle, lifted it and placed it across her shoulders like a wrapper draped across her neck. The bull was confused. The men on the ropes were confused. Cayama was confused. She picked up the second bowl. Same movement, same ease, one across each shoulder. Then she walked them to the market pen, set them down, dusted her hands, and turned around to walk back. Behind her, Cayama lost its mind completely. Women urinating, men shouting, children running alongside her. One man with his hands on his head in complete disbelief. One man stumbled backward, falling over his own feet. One man had fainted, actually fainted, flat on the red earth, arms spread wide, cap beside his head. Another man was in the process of fainting. His eyes was rolling, knees buckling, body going down slowly like a tree deciding to fall. Our wife, Aisha, Aisha. They kept on hailing her. She walked through it all with that smile. That dimpled, warm, completely unbothered smile, as if carrying two full-grown bulls across her shoulders, was simply Tuesday. But here is the other side of the story. The side that happened when the chanting stopped and everyone went home. The men of Cayama avoided Aisha, not because she was unkind, not because she was aggressive, not because she had ever, not once in 19 years, raised a hand to anyone. They avoided her because a man who stood beside Aisha looked immediately and obviously smaller than she was. And in Cayama, a man could not afford to look small. The young men who might have admired her kept their admiration private, locked behind closed expressions, because to admire Aisha publicly was to invite the question, "You like that one? The one who is stronger than you? What kind of man likes a woman who can carry him?" So they stayed away. They crossed to the other side of the path when they saw her. They found reasons to be elsewhere whenever she was present. The women were not much better. They gossiped. "Did you see what she did at the well? She pulled that pump handle clean off the wall. No man will marry that man. What man wants a wife who is stronger than him? She will be alone forever. It's a curse." They said these things not always with cruelty, but sometimes with genuine sadness. The specific sadness of people who see someone being punished by the very thing that should have been their gift. A woman Aisha had helped, whose firewood she had carried and whose water she had fetched overhead at the well, said, "She is kind, yes, but kindness is not enough. A man wants to feel strong. She takes that from them just by existing." Aisha heard this. She was on the other side of the wall. She had come to help draw water. She stood there on the other side of the wall for a moment. Then she walked around it, drew the water, helped without being asked, and said nothing about what she had heard. Because Aisha had a policy, she did not fight what she could not change. She did not argue with the villagers' opinion about her. She simply kept being exactly who she was every single day, without apology, without performance, without shrinking. But here is the part the crowd never saw. When the chanting faded and everyone went home, Aisha went to her wall, the low wall at the edge of the village where she sat every evening when the work was done. And she sat there alone, watching the market day couples, the laughing groups, the families belonging to each other in ordinary, unremarkable ways, watching the door that everyone else walked through close when she approached. She never cried about it, at least not where anyone could see. She simply sat and watched and carried the loneliness the same way she carried everything else without showing the weight. He came to Cayama on a market day in October. His name was Dele from Lagos, ordinarily an engineer building the new water system for the villagers in the area. He was not particularly tall, not particularly muscular, just an ordinary looking man of 30. Reading glasses, a shirt with a pen in the pocket, the quality of someone who pays attention to things other people walked past. He arrived in Cayama on the exact day that Aisha was clearing a fallen iroko tree from the main village path. He drove in on a construction truck, stopped because the path was blocked, got out of it to see what was happening, and saw Aisha dragging a full-grown tree off the path with her bare hands, alone. Her short skirt, her simple top, her bare feet in the red earth, her long thin arms doing work that would have taken his entire crew an hour with equipment. He stood beside his truck and watched, not with the open-mouthed shock of the Cayama men, not with the stumbling backward and the fainting, but with something different: attention, genuine, focused, respectful attention. When she had moved the tree, dusted her hands, and turned to walk away, she found him standing there. She prepared herself for the usual response: the stepping backward, the looking away, the performance of not seeing that the men of Cayama had perfected. Instead, he smiled, not the uncomfortable smile of someone managing their reaction, a genuine smile, a warm, direct smile. "That," he said, pointing at the Iroko tree, now cleared from the path, "is the most impressive thing I have seen in 30 years. Aisha looked at him, then at the tree, then back at him. "It was in the way," she said. He laughed, not at her, not with her. The distinction was everything. "My name is Dele. I'm going to need a lot of help with this water project. Are you available?" Aisha stared at him. In her entire life, not one person had responded to her strength by asking how it could be useful. Not with fear, not with avoidance, not with uncomfortable laughter, with a job offer. "I am available," she said, and something shifted in Cayama that nobody could name yet. They worked together for 3 months on the water project, and in those 3 months, Adele Adi did something nobody in Cayama had ever done before. He saw Aisha, not her strength, not the Iroko trees, not the bush, not her. He noticed how she talks to Baba Gaba, the specific gentleness she used with old people, never condescending, never impatient, just present, warm and fully attentive. He noticed how she laughed. She laughed with her whole body, head thrown back, the sound full and unguided, the laugh of someone who had not yet learned to make herself smaller, even in joy. He noticed how she cried, once and only once. He saw it. An old dog in the village had died. Nobody's dog specifically, but the village dog, the one that slept at the gate. Aisha found it in the morning, carried it to a good spot under the big tree, dug the hole, placed the dog in it, then sat beside the grave for 20 minutes and cried quietly for a village dog that nobody owned. Dele saw this from a distance. He did not interrupt. Later that day, he said, "You have a big heart, Aisha." She looked at him carefully, the way she looked at things she was not sure she could trust. "People usually say I have big arms," she said. He laughed, that honest laugh. "Those too," he said, "but I actually meant the heart." It was the first time in Aisha's life that someone had named something about her that was not her strength. She filed it carefully in the place where she kept the things she was not ready to look at directly yet, the place where she kept the hope she had been trying very hard not to have. It was a Tuesday evening. The water project was almost complete. In 3 days, Dele would leave Cayama. He found Aisha at her usual spot, the low wall at the edge of the village where she sat every evening when the work was done. She sat there alone, watching the sun go down behind the farms, the sky orange and the pink and purple, the cooking fires starting across the village, the smell of evening food moving through the warm air. Quiet for a while, then he said, "Aisha." "Yes, I'm leaving on Friday. I know. I want to ask you something before I go." She looked at him, that careful, assessing look. "Ask," she said. "Are you happy here?" She had not expected this question. In her experience, the questions people asked Aisha were about what she could do, how heavy, how far, how strong. Nobody asked about being happy. She looked back at the sunset. Finally, she said, "I'm home here. That is different from happy." He nodded as though this answer made complete sense. "I think," he said carefully, "that you deserve both." She said nothing. "I think someone who moves Iroko trees for strangers and cries for village dogs and knows every child's name and carries the world on her shoulders without ever asking for help, deserves someone who sees all of that, not just the carrying. Aisha was very still. I see all of that, he said. I have been seeing it for 3 months. A long silence. The village cooking fire smoke rising across the village. Dele, yes, I'm stronger than you. I know. I will always be stronger than you. I know that too. And that does not bother you? It was not quite a question. He thought about it properly. My father once said, a man who needs his woman to be weak so that he can feel strong is not a strong man. He is a frightened one. Aisha looked at him for a long time. Your father sounds wise, she said. He was, Dele said. I have been trying to be like him ever since. Another long silence, softer this time. I would like to come back, he said, after the next project to see you if you allow it. Aisha looked at the sunset, the orange fading into purple. She thought about the evenings on this wall alone. She thought about her mother's words. The right person will see what I see. She looked at the hope she had been keeping in the place she was not ready to look at. She looked at it now. I will allow it, she said, and the smile arrived. That wide, warm, dimpled, completely unbothered smile. Dele smiled back. Below them, Cayama village went about its evening, unaware that the things it had decided was impossible was sitting right there on the wall. A man who was not afraid of Aisha, watching the same sunset, going nowhere. When Dele came back 2 months later with a proper visit, a meeting of families and the intentions that required no translation, of course Cayama had thoughts. The market women whispered, him? That small engineer man? Does he know what he's getting into? One woman said to another, she will break him like a twig. She will carry him on her back every morning. Laughter. They all laughed at him. The comfortable laughter of people who think they are joking but are also serious. The young men who had spent years avoiding Aisha said, he is from Lagos. He doesn't know our women. He will know soon enough. More laughter. Baba Kaba, whose name Aisha had carried, heard all of it. He waited for a quiet moment. Then he said, the man who carries water to a woman who can carry him, that is not a weak man. That is a man who knows what matters. Silence. Everywhere was so silent. Then also, Aisha carried my yams last month. Every one of you walked past me on that road. So perhaps you should not be so quick to have opinions about what a strong woman is worth. More silence. The specific silence of people who had been correctly told about themselves. Aisha's mother, Helia, heard what Baba Gaba said. She went home. She sat in her room and wept, not with sadness, with the specific relief of a mother who had spent years worrying about a daughter the world was not ready for, and finally, watch the world catch up. What do you take from a story like this? 3 things. The first thing is, strength is not the problem. Fear of strength is the problem. Aisha was never too much. Cayama was just not ready enough. There is a difference, and that difference matters. The things that make you inconvenient to small people are usually the exact things that make you extraordinary to the right people. Your strength, whatever forms it, is not the obstacle. It is the fitter. It is showing you who is big enough to stand beside you. The second thing from this story is kindness without recognition is still kindness. Aisha helped without being asked. She carried without being thanked. She showed up without being invited. And when the people she helped gossiped about her at the well, she still went to help at the well. Not because she was foolish, not because she did not hear, but because her kindness did not belong to their approval. It belonged to her. This is the rarest kind of goodness, the kind that does not require an audience to continue. The third thing from this story is The right person will not ask you to be less. Dele did not ask Aisha to hide. He did not need her weakness to feel his own value. He looked at everything she was and moved towards it, not despite it. This is what love looks like when it is honest. Not two people making themselves smaller to fit into each other's comforts, but two people making enough space for both of them to be fully themselves. If you are Aisha today, if you have been told you are too much, too strong, too big for the space that was offered to you, know this today. The space was not big enough. You are not too much. Keep moving trees. Keep carrying bows. Keep being exactly who you are. Your Dele is coming, and when he arrives, he will not need you to shrink. He will simply pull up a chair on the wall at the edge of the village and watch the same sunset and say, "I see you." All of you, and I'm going nowhere. Drop a WP in the comments for every woman who was told she was too strong to be loved. Share this story. It belongs to someone you know. Subscribe and I will see you in the next one. Stay strong, stay kind, and stay exactly who you are. Kindly subscribe to my channel to enjoy more interesting and inspiring stories. See you in my next story. Bye.